It's cinnamon time.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
time for cinnamon. This is the 6th episode. You know what that means, right?
Yes, that means we are 4 away
We're 4 away
from the primer episode.
from the primer episode. I cannot wait to not have any idea what's going on.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I spend every day like that, but to sit and watch a film and then discuss a film of which you really just don't understand, it's kind of exciting.
It'd be just an hour of that thing with the guy that did the joint, and then dude 3 was dude 1, and yeah.
Yeah. It's incredibly complex. That's actually part of the reason we took such a long break in between, is we just had to start getting elbow deep into primer to get ready for this thing.
That's going to be a tasty episode. What has been up since the last time I've seen you, sir?
Well, let's see. It's been about a month or so. So my son has graduated from high school, is on his way to college. Oh, wait, no, it just feels like that.
Yes, it
Just
does.
feels
Jesus,
like that.
it does.
No, things have been great as usual, watching all kinds of movies. I'm definitely interested. There's been a couple of films you've seen that I haven't seen, so I'm really interested in that. And I got to kick it off with this because you did. Talk to me about Venom. I could not go.
You could not or would not?
Could not. No. I wanted to go.
Not as in like your legs just would not move when you wanted to go to the theater?
As in my head was in such pain that it couldn't communicate with my legs.
Yeah.
So I absolutely wanted to go. There was just no way I could do it. I have a morbid curiosity. The premise of the film, if I understand it, is based on the Lethal Protector run that ran in the 90s.
Yeah.
I still have that run. I have that 6-issue run.
Nice.
I pulled it out of storage so that I could read it. All I've read is issue 1 out of the 6. But it's very 90s. It's very 90s with the Eddie Brock midriff rocking look.
Venom is definitely like a defining symbol of Marvel Comics 90s. It is a average at best film.
Aw.
Is how I take it. I mean, I if you listen to this the day it goes up, you will hear me say this again in 24 hours from Paprika. Oscar-nominated Michelle Williams is completely wasted in this film.
Oh, man.
Relegated to The Girlfriend. Riz Ahmed is the villain, whose name I've already forgotten. It is incredibly one note, no depth whatsoever. We have to do this thing for the good of humanity. And that's about it. That's about as deep as his character goes.
That's a little disappointing.
CGI is a little bit wonky in certain places, which kind of bothered me. Tom Hardy is fine. He's fine as Eddie Brock. And that's about it. And
How is he as Venom?
I mean, it's all CGI for that.
No, I mean, like the voice work.
Yeah, they do some decent things with the sound altering of I'm not even sure if that's, I assume that's him doing the.
It is.
Okay, then. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's just all altered sounds, and they throw some bass behind it. And Venom's motivation, the actual symbiote's motivation for doing what he's doing, it's like straight out of it's like 90s motivations. Like, hey,
He needs a hip hop record.
I'm doing
Is that
this
why
thing.
Eminem did the music?
If it's gonna be 90s, it's definitely gonna be Wu-Tang Clan. Yeah, his motivation is I'm just like you on my world, so I'm gonna stick around. And you're like, really, that's why you're doing all this.
Huh.
So yeah, I gave like a 2.5 out of 5, man. 2.5 horses.
Now, I didn't see
3
the
trash
film
cans.
Life, but does the Life Foundation have any connection to the movie Life? Because
They
I feel
don't.
like they keep trolling us with this.
I think that's what I can't know. I don't know if they were already filming Venom when Life came out. They had to, maybe early pre-production, because I think that was February of last year. I feel like they were trolling us a little bit there.
Because they did use the Spider-Man 3 footage in the trailer.
Yes.
So some people were wondering if
Yeah.
this was the backdoor prequel.
And it should have been. I mean, it would have made the movie any better. But it would have been like, well, you know what? That's cool. Kind of cool that they tied 2 films that should have had nothing to do with each other into, and it would have been cool.
So Cloverfield did the thing?
Right, yeah. I think it was smart because Sony came out like after Life came out, and Sony's like, no, it's not a backdoor film. I think it would have been smarter if they just kept their fucking mouth shut. And then after Venom told us that Life had nothing to do, it might have garnered just a modicum more interest. Although it did like 80 million this weekend, so it busted expectations, so it did good for itself. I think the week 2 drop off is going to be massive.
Yeah.
But we will see. I'm glad I saw it for free. Let me put it that way.
That's one of the reasons why I'm still kicking myself for not going.
Yeah.
But at the same time, recognizing it's had a great opening weekend. I'm going to be one of those people that it will probably pay to see in the theater, because some films, even if they're not great, you should probably get the biggest.
This is not one of those films.
That really?
I am like, yeah, you can catch this on a streaming service, man. Personally, in my opinion, you can catch this on unlike if you want to talk about that 5-minute Aquaman footage that came out, that deserves to be seen, I think, on an IMAX screen.
I'm seriously looking forward to Aquaman now.
My hype meter moved from like a 6 to about a 7.5, 8 now. I'm slowly getting hype for Aquaman. But anyways, yeah, that's my official review of Venom.
Awesome. Have you had a chance, obviously, Stars Born also came out the same weekend. Have you had a chance to see that yet?
I have two options after I leave this place.
Okay.
I can go see Stars Born right after I leave here, or I bought a shit ton of food to put on the grill. So I might go grill up a shit ton of food for dinner and lunch tomorrow. I don't have time to do both.
Let's see. If you don't grill, will you still be able to make an easy dinner for tonight and lunch for tomorrow?
I mean, I bought this food with the purpose of specifically making the dinner for tonight and lunch for tomorrow.
Well, I'm just
and I can't do it tomorrow, and then it rains Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So, yeah.
It's still too close to call, because The Star is Born is pretty damn great.
I know. I called it it is my early pick to win the Best Picture, and at the very least, earn Best Director, Best Actor, Best Actress. I was hoping that AMC was going to have a 10:30 a.m. matinee, but apparently the AMC near me has taken away that option on Mondays. I haven't seen it for any movie in the last couple of Mondays. I would have to go to Concord Mills to catch 10:30 a.m. And I've just made the trip between my house and Concord Mills like 4 times in the last 2 days. I'm kind of tired of traversing up and down 85, picking up my daughter and dropping her off and picking her up and dropping her off.
But if you are going to go see A Star is Born, and this goes for anybody, if you get the opportunity to do it, see it in a Dolby experience.
Oh yeah, with music like that.
Or even the RPX at Regal. Just get the best music experience. Are you familiar with how they recorded the music?
With instruments and microphones, I do believe.
Yeah, but more than that, they recorded everything live.
Oh.
They recorded everything live as they performed it in the scenes that they performed it. There was no lip syncing involved here.
Very nice.
In fact, technologically speaking, they had to figure out ways to record the music so that the people in the audience could not hear it, but it would still be picked up, and figure out ways to create within the film experience ways for it to sound as though it was being broadcast as if you were watching a concert.
So what you're saying is this is a lock for best sound editing.
It's quite possibly. And while I don't think it's Best Picture worthy, I certainly think it's Best Picture nomination worthy.
Yeah.
I certainly think the direction is worthy of the nomination. Actor, I'm not sure. I think I would need a second pass to really make that determination. But Lady Gaga, that's a hell of a performance that she gives. And her first thing was what? Machete Kills, and that whole thing.
Yes.
That whole thing was
yes.
shiesty. The whole movie is supposed to be ridiculous, and I have no issue with that. But she has since move past that American Horror Story, and she won a Golden Globe for that performance.
Yeah,
if I
she
recall
put on a hell of a show at the Super Bowl as well, and then disappeared into the nothingness. I'm still trying to figure out how she got off that stage in Super Bowl. Magic.
But her performance here is fantastic.
All right.
You knew she could do the singing. I mean, It's Lady Gaga. You like her or hate her, you know she can sing.
Correct.
But it's all about the performance, and that she blows out of the park. And quite frankly, when I saw it, I got to see it end of September before they did the fan experience.
Right.
And after seeing it, that night, I was thinking about it. I was mulling it over. Didn't really do anything for me. Next day, I go to sit down to write the review. I put on the song Shallow that Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper perform. It's been everywhere, and it rightfully should be. And I put on that music video as I'm listening to the song, and I just start holding back tears. I'm just suddenly feeling everything that the film was going for, to the point where I bought a ticket to the fan experience. I almost went back. Almost went back and saw it again. So I highly recommend that.
Okay.
I highly recommend that.
I have avoided every song, any song whatsoever. I know there is a song called Shallow. I'll hear it when I see the movie.
Yes. And after you do it, if you enjoy it, Target has the soundtrack currently on sale as of the 8th of October, $11.99.
$11.99, folks.
Yeah. And the best thing about buying a CD is that iTunes won't take it back from you when they lose the license. You can keep listening to it.
That means you just got to get it and then port those files over to the external hard drive real quick.
Yeah, but even still, if it's got DRM, which most of them don't anymore, but if it does, you're going to lose that stuff.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to play it. Which, as far as other films, First Man is coming out this week, comes out on the 12th. That one is definitely going to be getting some Best Picture attention, direction attention, sound mixing, cinematography. Performance is not so sure.
I just want to take this moment to acknowledge the fact that I am not a Doug Davidson fan, as you have watched this movie, and I have not.
Sorry.
Your apologies are not accepted, sir.
I could only get the one ticket.
That's quite all right. So how was it? It was IMAX, right? How was the...
No, it was not. I was seriously ticked.
No,
seriously ticked.
Boo.
Everything I was hearing that it was going to be at IMAX, they had this screening... Bad Times at El Royale. You've seen Bad Times, so I'm a little irked at you because I really want to see Bad Times at the El Royale.
Oh.
But I was expecting it to be in IMAX because it was showing at our local theater, Regal Stonecrest, which has one.
Regal.
And they rarely do sneaks at Regal Stonecrest anymore since they've done the what's the word gone, where they remodel.
Oh, they remodeled that joint? I haven't been there since I saw Hateful Eight on Christmas Day, 2015.
Oh, wow. Then, yeah,
16.
They've got the individual seats now with the reclining. They're very, very comfortable. And they've also installed, in addition to an IMAX, what they call RPX, which I mentioned earlier. For those of you not in the know, it's sort of their own version of IMAX without it being IMAX.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, anything that's not at a science museum type place where they've got an actual IMAX, it's not real IMAX in most places. Smithsonian in DC, real IMAX. What you have at your local theater, not so much. Not so much. But it's still a larger screen. With RPX, you get slightly larger than a theater, slightly smaller than what they sell as IMAX, but the sound is incredible. So the fact that we weren't even watching an RPX, little disappointing. However,
how's the picture quality? How's the cinematography?
Everything looks amazing. The thing that a lot of folks get tripped up on is because it's called First Man, it's about Neil Armstrong. The assumption is that it's about him landing on the moon. Yes, it involves that, but it's following Neil Armstrong. It's about getting to know this guy that apparently out in public keeps things very, very close to the vest.
That's what I hear, man. He's not one for the limelight.
Exactly. And here, watching this story, particularly the way that Chazelle really puts you into what's happening. Every time a pilot, an astronaut, anybody gets into a vehicle, you feel like you're in there.
All right.
So if it had been an IMAX, I might have gotten sick.
Like IMAX.
IMAX, yeah.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure I would have gotten... It would not have been pretty.
A little inner ear business there?
Yeah, I would have been a little chunk sitting at the movies. I would have started. Somebody else would have started. We just don't need that.
Terrible domino effect.
Seriously. But no, the performances are good. There's nothing that really knocks you off your feet in the way that, say, A Star is Born does, or that really surprises you. But I think also that Chazelle was sort of going for a biography, documentary feel at times. At least that's how it comes across, almost a home video.
Yeah.
And so the performances don't need to be grand, but it looks amazing. And the final sequence, when they do show you him on the moon,
right,
it's breathtaking.
Back to A Star is Born for a second.
Sure.
I have a quick question. How much screen time does Chappelle get?
Not much.
10 minutes?
Maybe.
Called it. All right, then. Cool.
Andrew Dice Clay gets about as much.
Oh.
Well put.
I would like to see over the years a Chazelle Gosling combination, like we've seen a Scorsese De Niro and then eventually Scorsese DiCaprio. I would like to see them make many, many films together.
Okay.
We'll see if that happens or not.
Chappelle's very good at this.
Man, but That's not enough. I was like, man, it's about enough to slide in for a supporting actor, but nah, that's not enough.
From the trailer, that's what I was thinking. But while his presence is felt, it's really about Cooper and Gaga. It's really about their characters.
Yeah.
I mean, even Sam Elliott is barely in the film.
Oh man, you got Sam Elliott. I mean, he's barely in the Big Lebowski too. So.
Well, his role in The Big Lebowski is very different than his role in A Star Is Born. It's
Bradley Cooper taking it easy for all us sinners.
One of the things that I really enjoyed actually about A Star Is Born is that because it's only focused on Jackson Maine, Cooper, and Allie, Gaga, you don't really get to know anybody else. People just show up and you find out who they are through the way that they talk to each other, through the things that they say. It took me forever to realize that Bobby, played by Sam Elliott, is Jackson's brother.
Oh, really? I thought it was his dad.
No.
Yeah,
No.
Parents are fucking late in life.
Well, you'll that's part of the story.
Okay.
But it's that's one of the things that I really liked about A Star Is Born is that it wasn't spoon feeding you. It knew what its focus was and it stayed on that.
All right, then everything else was kind of ancillary.
Yeah. But it works really, really well. And one of the final scenes with Sam Elliott is equally heartbreaking.
I love me some Sam Elliott.
Oh, he's really good in this.
So are you planning on going to see Bad Times soon, this weekend?
I don't know if it'll be this weekend. It depends on how much grading I can get done.
Word, damn
Yeah.
students.
Yeah, seriously. They keep signing up for classes, so I have to keep giving them assignments.
Terrible.
But I am hoping to check that one out before it leaves theaters. It's always hit and miss for me. Frankly, though, if you guys are out there looking for something to watch, if you aren't interested in First Man, or you see A Star Is Born, skip out on Venom, maybe you check out Bad Times. If you're looking for something else, particularly as we're getting into Halloween, I recommend Knuckleball.
Knuckleball.
Yeah, you familiar? Did you hear about this movie?
I heard that there was a movie called Knuckleball, and it just kind of went past my radar. I didn't do any kind of research on it or anything.
It's Canadian film director Michael Peterson.
All right.
I had the chance to check it out. It's on VOD and digital, I think.
Ooh.
I forget if it's in select theaters or not. It's a fun little flick. They're billing it as an R-rated Home Alone.
Okay.
It's a lot more than that.
Oh, all right.
And while the use of exposition really slows the film down and kind of gets in its own way, when it's in the, we'll call it Home Alone situation, it's badass.
Okay.
Yeah. Because, you see a guy take a tumble, get hit by a baseball, whatever, in Home Alone, and he gets back up and he's fine. In this film, people get hurt.
Well, you throw a knuckleball properly and it hits somebody, it should get hurt.
Yeah. And at a pretty tight 90 minutes, it's a fun watch.
Ooh, I like a good tight 90.
I also had a chance to finally watch Upgrade. Holy
Yeah, you did?
shit.
I keep thinking, do I want to? And I choose something else to watch.
Dude. No. Official new cinnamon challenge. No. I'm holding on to mine for this week.
Oh, all right, fine.
No, but you have got to watch Upgrade. I was kicking myself trying to see that in theaters.
Mm-hmm.
The last chance I had, I ended up going to Ocean's 8 instead because I wanted something fun instead of Upgrade.
Okay.
Plus, the timing didn't work out because I was seeing Incredibles 2 that night. So I was like, I'll make it a double feature. And to get in line for the sneak, a movie had to end by this time and whatever else. So I ended up at Ocean's 8, which is
Fun-ish.
Fun enough. Yeah. It's worth watching for the actresses.
I think 8 had just enough to get me to a 9. What I want is an 8, 9, 10 to back up against an 11, 12, 13.
Nah, they can't. That would be fun, except it can't happen in the timeline. Because according to this one.
Oh, that's a good. Oh, I didn't even thought about that. Yeah.
According to this one.
Yeah.
Unless Danny Ocean's not really dead, because of course Danny Ocean's not really dead.
I think he's dead.
And then he shows up.
I think he's dead.
There's no fun in that.
I
There's
mean,
literally no fun in that.
I mean, dude has to die eventually.
Well, we all do eventually.
You can't con the St. Peter, so you gotta have to eventually kick the bucket.
Well,
speaking
of
thematically,
eventually,
I would like to have them back up against each other.
Oh, I think that would be great.
Not
I
like
would
prequels, but
watch. I would watch 2 more movies with this cast doing something, as long as it was a little bit more focused. When this one's focused on the craft, on the thievery, it's so much fun.
Yeah.
But the fact that it spends 15 to 20 minutes explaining the whole movie to you at the end, it's a little annoying.
Yeah,
it loses the fun.
Yeah, I think they did a good job, especially in Ocean's 11, of showing you, hey, this is how we did it all in a very succinct and quick amount of time.
Yeah, and while it was happening.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
while
and
it was happening.
Oh, oh, that's a little cute thing that the camera didn't show us, or whatever the case may be. But,
Exactly.
Yeah, there is too much going on behind the scenes, I think, in Ocean's 8.
It's possible, but change the subject. Watch Upgrade. Watch it.
I will.
I watch it. I now regret having not seen that film in theaters. That movie, baller. It is beautiful. It is thoughtful. It is badass in the action sequences. And from what I understand, everybody that has seen Venom has gone, oh, it's cute. They saw Upgrade.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, I mean, they both came out this year, so.
Well, I mean, it's hard. You can never, if a movie comes out in the same year as another one, or even say Aquaman, people are making the comparisons that Aquaman looks just like Black Panther, except Killmonger's the hero in Aquaman. And I get that, except for the fact that Aquaman was in production long before Black Panther came out.
Right.
So nobody knew about any of that stuff, and that's one of the problems about, at least with comic book characters, they all have similar backgrounds and everything else, and you've got long gestation periods for production. But with Upgrade, the reason why people are making the comment is some of the direction, the type of shots that are used, from what I understand, when Eddie as Venom is doing stuff, the camera holds on him as he's moving at different angles, things like that. And that happens a lot in Upgrade because it's demonstrating the difference between the human in control versus the machine in control.
Okay.
And it's badass. Watch it.
All right, then. I'll check it out,
here's the plan. Can't do A Star is Born because of all this other things. So you're going to go home, you're going to grill during dinner, you're going to watch Upgrade. Done.
All right, then.
Done. No arguments.
That might work, sir.
Done. Might work.
That might work.
Make it happen. Make some magic happen. Make some magic happen. There's a bunch of other films that I've seen that are at least worth mentioning in brief before we move on to, obviously, we've got the Cinnamon Challenge. We haven't seen each other in so long. There's just so much to catch up on. But if you guys are looking for something else a little different, I highly recommend Freak Show. It was directed by Trudy Styler, I believe is her last name. It's out on DVD. You can rent it streaming. Film about we'll call it a fish out of water. Kid has... He's not only gay, but he has a stylish flair about him, sort of a Broadway-ish stylish flair, and it gets him into trouble with a lot of the kids at this new school he's going to the point where they put him in a coma.
Well then.
Yeah, and it has a lot of beats that reminded me of the movie Saved with Mandy Moore and I think that was Kieran Culkin and a few others. It has a lot of beats that remind me of that, but it goes in a completely different direction. And it's Alex Lothar, I think is his last name, who was in Ghost Stories, who is in, I forget the name of that Netflix show where he's a budding serial killer that ends up going on a road trip with some girl and he keeps plotting how he's going to murder her and then he doesn't. It lasted for a season. I only got about 2 episodes into it.
Oh, Netflix.
Yeah. No, from what I understand, it's very good. It's just time being what it is. Couldn't really do it. But he's phenomenal in Ghost Stories. Phenomenal in Ghost Stories. So there's quite a few movies coming out, and if you really want to know what I've been watching and reviewing, just go to the website. We don't need to.
Madness.com.
Yeah. Or go to Paprika on Facebook.
Yeah, there you go. There's some links up in there.
Yeah. So, are there any other Bad Times? Tell us about Bad Times.
I'm sure you've heard the Tarantino comparisons by now. It is Tarantino. Like Drew Goddard sat down, watched Tarantino, and was like, I'm going to make a movie like that. And I'm 100% okay with that, dude.
Awesome.
It is, well, I'm a huge Tarantino fan. So it was definitely respects paid. And it was pretty damn enjoyable. It's one of those, a lot of people were comparing it before it came out to Hateful Eight because it's the same kind of type of setting, a number of strangers in one location. The movie happens in this one location. Death and mayhem ensues. Some of those deaths come surprisingly early. The 2, 3, 4 that make it at the end are the ones you think will make it at the end. But it is a fun ride getting there to the end. Chris Hemsworth is a charming psychopath.
Awesome.
It's probably the best thing I've seen him in that's not Thor. He's pretty much a third act character. But when he comes in hard and he wrecks some shop up.
Nice.
Drew Goddard knows how to build tension. I like how he builds his tension. Lewis Pullman, Bill Pullman's son, I was like, okay, Lewis, I see what you're working with here. I kind of want to see some other stuff that he's done already. Anything else has got Lewis Pullman in, I'm like, I might have to give this a check out. Right. See how old Lou does over there. I'm putting it in it's probably going to end up in my top 5 for the year somewhere.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. If it's not, then it's going to be sitting number 6. I had a blast, and I'm definitely going to go see it again.
Okay. Well, that's high praise. Any film that I think anybody sees and immediately wants to rewatch, doesn't matter where it falls for you on best of the year, worst of the year. If it's something that's rewatchable, that there's a lot to be grateful for.
Yeah.
In that kind of experience.
And I think that it's one of the finer Jeff Bridges performances I've seen in a while.
Really?
Like, the last time for me, Jeff Bridges was like on his Jeff Bridges shit was probably True Grit.
Okay.
And yeah, he puts in some good works in this movie.
I still haven't seen that. Westerns are a blind spot for me, which apparently we're going to be fixing, but we'll get into that later.
Yes.
We'll get into that later. But I haven't seen True Grit, but I did notice he's been leaning a little heavy into the cowboy range of things with his performances.
Yeah.
You could almost take
cowboy
R.I.P.D. and
True Grit.
True Grit, and you've got Kingsman, and there's a few others where he's just been doing that big Southern Texan drawl. Lean into it hard.
Yeah, and he kind of leans into it a bit in this movie as well. But I enjoyed it for what it was. Definitely check that out, man. I think that's a communal experience movie.
Okay. Well, I need to get to the theater. It's been a while. I mean, it hasn't been too long because I did see First Man, and most of the time when it comes to people suck. People keep treating the theater like it's their living room. It is not your living room. If you go to the theater, be quiet and watch the movie.
Be quiet and watch the movie. That's all you got to do. You only have one job. Sit there and shut up and keep your eyeballs open.
Yeah, I know.
That's it. It's the simplest thing in the world.
And if you can't keep your eyeballs open, at least fall asleep quietly.
Don't snore like me in Suicide Squad.
If it helps, I did notice you snoring during Justice League, so I guess that's good.
Oh, I rewatched that 2-3 days ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I wanted to see after they came out with the big 5-minute Aquaman business. I went back and I wanted to see how Zack Snyder handled his vision of what Atlantis was going to be and how they communicate underwater and all that kind of good stuff. And yeah, that movie's still not great.
No, it can be fun if you squint your eyes and tilt your head.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
If you don't
focus
and all of a sudden hard.
It was 45 minutes later, and I was like,
I'm awake.
I'm refreshed now.
Feeling so much better after this nap.
Yeah.
Now, Justice League has its good parts. It's when it gets the characters right, when it remembers who they are, it works really, really well. But yeah, granted, there's this thing that came out, Zack Snyder confirmed online, if you folks had seen it, and I don't know if you did, Daryl, that apparently Snyder's vision was to end his 5 films, presumably Justice League 2, with Batman dead and Superman cradling him.
I'm cool with that.
And frankly, that would have been interesting to see. If there was these 5 stories, okay, fine. And granted, I haven't enjoyed really any of the Snyder films that have come out.
Possibly.
I don't... Okay. I think Zack Snyder can tell a good story. I think he can make a great movie. 300 is a film that I had to rebuy it in Blu-ray because I'd broken my HD version of that film. That's right. I started with HD because it was a better format. But 300 is a phenomenal film.
Yeah.
Watchmen is a phenomenal film. I hate what he did with the ending and with the character of Rorschach because he changes something in the comic from the film. Really, it bugs the shit out of me. But other than that, it's a beautiful film, and it's one that I own the full edition of. So it's got all the extra stuff from the director's cut and the
Tales of the Black Freighter.
Tales of Black Freighter, because I'm a giant dork, and it's a great, great movie. Even Sucker Punch has some good ideas.
Ooh.
Even Sucker Punch has some good ideas in it.
I might need to reassess.
But let me tell you something.
Tell me something.
These movies, while they are representative of an era of time in which we are far more cynical, we are far more angry, and our superheroes may potentially react to that.
Yeah.
I don't care if, as long as the gender or the race of a character isn't significant to the core of the character, I don't care if you change that stuff.
Right.
I don't have an issue with it. But if the character is meant to be hopeful, then they should be hopeful. If a character is meant to inspire hope, then we should see them inspire hope. At no point in BVS, Justice League or Man of Steel do we see Superman do this?
That's the thing about Man of Steel. I don't think people get it's his first day on the job. All right, you just can't start out. When people think of Superman, think of Superman who has been Supermaning for quite some time, who inspires hope and all that kind
guy.
of stuff.
I'm not talking about that guy, Man of Steel. I'm talking about the petty SOB at 30-ish years old, because we're going to go with Snyder's Jesus allegory to full tilt. Clark is wandering the earth. He's not Superman, he's Clark. He's wandering the earth, trying to find his place in the world, and when he comes across a bully, he takes that guy's truck and sticks it on a telephone pole. That's what Clark Kent in Smallville, his freshman year of high school, does. Okay, fine, because he's a child. Clark Kent at 30 years old might be angry, might be lonely, but he shouldn't be stooping to these things. And granted, he's fighting against, by the end of the film, he's trying to figure out who he is as Superman, what he represents, what his connection is to his heritage, and what it means to the people. So I get that mistakes are going to be made.
Yes.
But at no point in that film do we ever get the sense that underneath all of that struggle, is there a big heart? Is there that love and support? He basically goes to the military at the end of the movie and is like, stop following me. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. F off.
Yeah, that's exactly how it should have gone.
That's,
I want to do things the way that I want to do them. I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with that whatsoever. Let me do my thing.
I have a huge problem with it. And then when we see him in Batman versus Superman, he murders the dude that Lois is going to investigate. He grabs him and takes him through a wall, never to be seen again.
Oh yeah,
never to be heard about again.
Beginning of the,
This is what I'm talking about, and we're not going to get into the idiosyncrasies between he can hear Lois's heartbeat and find her from any place and anywhere, yet he can't find his own mother. We're not going to get into that stuff, but even in BVS, we're seeing, and we're getting way off topic from what we're going to discuss today, but even in BVS. We're seeing all of these moments of him doing heroic things and how people are reacting to him. But we're not getting any of the why. Why are they're looking at him like he's a god. They're not looking at him as if he's someone to look up to. Instead, it's supplication.
I think
that's what it looks like.
I think that's exactly how it would go. If a superhuman man happened, they would look at him as a god.
Yeah, and they might. But the thing is that Clark doesn't see himself as a god. That's the difference. And that, to me, is one of the big failures of these films, is that he didn't see himself as a god. He saw himself as someone who does what needs to be done, much like anyone that's an EMT, police officer, fireman, anybody in these first responder positions. They do these things theoretically because someone needs to do it. Like Mr. Rogers says, you look for the helpers. Clark Kent is a helper. He had to learn to become one. That's where Jonathan and Martha Kent come in. That's where his Kansas upbringing comes in. But we don't see any of that. And that's part of the problem. We're told to accept that this is who he is, but we never get any of it. Whereas in Justice League, whether it's under the direction of Snyder, whether it was under the direction of Whedon, I'm not sure in terms of which part of the reshoots it was. But we don't start getting a Superman that doesn't have the weight of the world on his shoulders until after he's died.
Yeah.
And that's the Superman that would have been more interesting to see. And granted, they took inspiration from, but didn't follow the comics. Okay, fine. Not everything is going to do it. Not every adaptation means it must follow it. But, sure, death can change a person. But this is the version he was supposed to be. The one who is joking. The one who wants to try and come up with a non-lethal solution. There are a whole lot of ways that between Man of Steel and BVS, Clark could have been represented, could have been positioned, could have been designed to have learned to have grown from just murdering a guy, which he doesn't seem to do.
I see what you're saying now.
Because instead of going, I'm going to be an investigative reporter, I'm going to find out who the Batman is, and instead of going, well, everyone's telling me he's a Batman, I'm going to be a reporter and find out what's really going on here. And instead, and this is one of the things that bugs me about the film, Batman is in hot pursuit of a bunch of bad guys. We know that they're bad guys. Bruce thinks everybody's a bad guy at this point.
That's why I love him.
But he's straight up murdering people as he's driving the Batmobile over the back of vehicles and shooting guns and do whatever. But this is old man Batman, and okay, fine. My issue is that while all of this is happening, Superman shows up, stops the Batmobile. He
Kicks it.
Yeah, and stops it right in place. And then he says, next time the signal shows up, don't appear. He doesn't try and figure out what's happening. He doesn't try and figure out what is the dynamic between the people that are also shooting guns. He just assumes Batman's the bad guy. And at no point does he go, I wonder if I should look under that mask, which you know is exactly what Superman does to find out that he's Bruce. And Bruce, being the frickin' detective, already knows who Superman is because that's what he does. And we don't get these things, which to me is a huge issue, which exemplifies the fact that Snyder doesn't understand the characters, but wants those characters to do these things. And that, to me, is why the movies aren't as strong as they should be, as we want them to be, because they're not about those characters. They're about Snyder's visions of those characters.
They're about moments.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in particular, BVS is filled with wonderful moments. It's the intertextuality of, hey, here's a moment from The Dark Knight Returns where Clark is a skeleton floating in space.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful moment. What the hell does it mean? Why does it mean anything? And we're not given that why. He relies so much on the meaning of other things that there's no meaning infused in it. And so Superman sacrificing himself at the end of the movie, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't carry any weight. And even seeing the dirt fly up off of his coffin at the end, you're like, oh, of course he's going to come back. Well, let's put it this way. Everybody knows Avengers 4, most of those freaking superheroes are coming back. Does that make the ending any less devastating?
Nope.
Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good. Are you kidding me? But watch BVS, and I guarantee you, majority of people don't have the same reaction. Should they? Yes.
Also,
yes,
people have spent way longer with those Avengers characters than they have with. So the impact isn't going to be the same.
Yep. And that, again, speaks to me of the failure to understand the characters.
That speaks to me of a studio trying to rush to get to a moment.
Yeah, that's the other bit.
Yeah.
That's the other bit.
Man, it's still good. So let's get on with our with the topic of why we're here today. Hey,
you want to skip the cinnamon challenge? Do we even have time at this point?
36 minutes. All right, yeah, let's get on with it.
Well, I at least
I'm cutting that entire Batman vs. Superman.
Oh, don't do that. Don't do that. I want everyone in Paprika to know where I stand. And to keep it clear, I'm a huge Superman fan. My son is named after Superboy. So come at me with whatever you want if you disagree. And that is fine. I will have that discussion with you. I'll have that argument in the truest sense. You present your evidence, I present my evidence. We'll probably never agree with each other. But here's the thing. If you love these movies, love them. Keep loving them.
Love them.
Yeah. You enjoying your movies has nothing to do with whether I do or not.
Boom.
So I'm never going to tell anybody, well, you shouldn't like this film.
But
I'm just going to explain why, to me, they don't work.
But you shouldn't like Venom.
Let's put it this way. I own Jonah Hex, and that's a pretty rough movie.
I'm sorry, sir.
But it is so much fun.
It is
and it has a great cast. There are so many people in that movie. Michael Fassbender, John Gallagher Jr., I mean, there's a ton of people in the background of that movie that are now like, wait, that was an Oscar nominee.
Let's get down with this cinnamon challenge, sir.
Absolutely.
Would you like to go first?
I would be happy to. You challenged me to watch The Three Musketeers from 1973, directed by Richard Lester. And I didn't realize this at the time. This is the same guy that directed Superman 2. Or the rest of Superman 2, I should say. When Richard Donner
Dick Donner got kicked.
When he got kicked. But Superman 2, Superman 3. He also directed the sequels to Three Musketeers, The Four Musketeers, and The Return of the Musketeers. And he also did Help, the Beatles.
Ah, okay.
So, I mean, he's got quite a catalog. This was a fun movie. I enjoyed this quite a bit. I had problems watching it because obviously I'd never seen this before, otherwise I wouldn't have agreed to it. But I feel like I love the Disney version of The Three Musketeers. I love that story.
Yeah.
I'd actually rewatched it about a month or two prior to you giving me this.
Really? Chris O'Donnell for the win.
Oh, yeah. Well, Kiefer Sutherland, Tim Curry.
Yeah. Oliver Platt up in there.
Yeah. Oh, Oliver Platt is so good in this. Tim Curry is just eating the scenery.
Yeah.
The whole cast is fantastic. And in that version of the film, it felt like the Disney version, it felt like the story was very focused, a lot of momentum moving you forward. D'Artagnan was our introduction to everything. Colonel Richelieu was a man not to be trifled with, and neither was Count Rushford.
Rushford, yes.
Rushford. He was also another guy, big threat. And I've never read the book. I always wanted to as a kid, and I just never got around to it. And seeing this version, which had a phenomenal cast, you've got Christopher Lee, Faye Dunaway, Raquel Welch, Charlton Heston, Richard Chamberlain, Oliver Reed, Michael York. This cast is fantastic.
That cast, man.
And they are having so much fun. And I felt like it didn't know what kind of movie it was trying to be, because D'Artagnan is our hero, but he's also really sleazy. Really sleazy. Because Raquel Welch plays the handmaiden to the queen. Mm-hmm. And D'Artagnan ends up renting a room from her husband.
Yeah,
and
straight snatches her.
On the night that Rushford comes for the husband and the wife gets away, and D'Artagnan's like, come sleep in my bed. I'll protect you.
Terrible.
Oh, it's so bad. But, I mean, it's still fun. It's still fun to watch. Faye Dunaway's having a good time. Charlton Heston, I think I need to find different movies to watch with him. I mean, I grew up watching the Ten Commandments, Jew. It's kind of a tradition. Mm-hmm. But he is so stiff. He is so stiff as Richelieu. It's hard to see him in any threatening capacity, whereas Richard Chamberlain, who played Aramis, oh man, just the charm oozing off of him.
Yeah, I really like Christopher Lee in this movie. That's where the real villainy comes in to me. What a complete dick he is in this movie.
And I like that he's not unwavering in his devotion to the Richelieu. He asks questions, and he's like, "Are we really sure about this?" Mm-hmm. And he's like, "Okay, I'm terrified of you, so I'm just going to keep doing it." And I'm pretty sure that was a line that Richelieu had. But no, it's a fun little flick. It's not certainly something that I would just sit down and watch if you hadn't challenged me to it, because I wouldn't. I'd go, well, why would I do this one? I love this version. Yeah. And the differences between the Disney version and this one are so vast that it really does feel like a different film. And this is where I had the problem, is I'm going, that's not what happened in the other one. That didn't happen in the other. Wait, where? And where's Sting coming in? Sting. There's the song. There's no song. Anyway. No, but it was a really fun film. I definitely would recommend. Thank you for letting me watch that. Now, what I'm nervous about, Plunkett and McLean.
Plunkett and McLean. Watched it, was that last night? Yesterday. I enjoyed one scene in that movie. Yeah, it was it was like, oh, this is a rough watch for me, man. It was a rough watch for me. Directed by Jason Scott, I expected a little bit more of the son of Ridley Scott and the nephew of Tony Scott, but we did not get what I was expecting. Robert Carlyle, however, I think Robert Carlyle he shouldered this movie to me. He was like, look, this is some shit. I'm gonna make this shit a little bit less shit.
Damn.
I'm pretty sure that was in his journal from one point or another. The Robert Carlyle journal. I was hard pressed to keep interest.
Wow. Now, I'm so sorry to hear that.
I mean, it's all opinionated. That's all movies are. And also, the one thing that I loathe doing, but I had no choice in doing in this movie, is I hate having to watch part of a movie, stop it, and then come back later and watch the other part of it.
Yeah, no, that does suck.
Yeah, I was forced to do that after some plans changed yesterday. But I was, it's not like I was running back to the couch to press start again on this joint, I'll tell you that much. Liv Tyler just kind of does what Liv Tyler does. The scene that I really loved is it's him stopping the Frenchman, the French coach. And that French dude's like, look, kill me if you want, but you're killing my language right now. I really enjoyed it. If I get shot, hopefully the last thing I do before I die is take a drink of whatever's in my hand. Let me just get a little bit more of this sherry in my life before I die. Robert Carlyle, I think, I'd give the best performance. The direction, the camera work is not great. Johnny Lee Miller?
Johnny Lee Miller.
Johnny Lee Miller. I've seen him pop up randomly in other things. I thought, I wasn't too impressed with his acting work, and I guess it didn't help that his character's also a fucking asshole.
But yeah.
And Alan
Huge
Cummings, man. Alan Cummings is chewing up.
Oh, he is so good.
Yeah, I really enjoy. I think actually, you know what? I enjoyed Alan Cummings more than I did Robert Carlyle. The few minutes he is in that movie, I don't think I've seen a bad thing with Alan Cummings in it yet.
No.
Great Nightcrawler. But yeah, it's not something that I would watch again. Not something I would recommend to anybody either.
Oh,
Sorry,
I recommend it to all of you.
Everyone.
I recommend it to everybody. The score in particular is really fantastic. The soundtrack, I think anyway. Obviously, I think I own that movie. But the soundtrack is very much of the period, which is like 16th or 17th century England. And at the same time, it mixes in from the 90s. Which was really big into house at the time. So it's got these wonderful sequences where the music starts out in classical form and then evolves into a sort of techno track. And it doesn't turn into A Knight's Tale where all of a sudden everybody's dancing as if they're dancing to David Bowie. It's not that kind of experience, but it just melds within that time period in a way that just sort of amplifies the environment. Now, it's a shame to hear Daryl be so wrong about a movie.
That's one thing that actually took me out was that music. I was like, what the fuck is this going on? Yeah, get out of here with this mess.
Whereas I'm probably going to put on Ballroom Part 1, 2, and 3 and jam out to that. Although, did you notice, and I forget the name of the track in the soundtrack, but there's a moment in the film towards the end. I'm not going to get into the setup for it because if people are interested one way or the other, maybe you're in the mood for a great movie, maybe you're in the mood for a shitty movie, you might want to put this film in. Just depends on who you believe right now.
Yeah.
But at the end of the film, there's this music that just starts playing. We'll say it gets queued up by a horse.
Mm-hmm.
That song showed up in so many trailers in the 90s.
Yes, it did.
It is unreal. If I can track it down after this show goes live, I'll post it on the Facebook page for people to check out and listen to.
I had one other issue with it, but we'll talk about that off camera because we're already 46 minutes in.
I have no idea what you're talking about. This has all been worthwhile discussion. It's all been worthwhile discussion.
Well, we need to get to the actual title of this episode.
God, you are so picky. I think if everybody goes and listens to all 6 episodes of this, we'll get to like the 10-minute mark, and you're like, well, I guess we finally need to. You have the same segue every time.
Well, that's what I'm here for. I gotta keep this fire on track here, man.
What fun is that? Hey, you're somehow we got talking about Zack Snyder. And
yeah, that kind of derailed us for a solid 5-8 minutes. It
whatever
is what it is. We came to talk. What do we come to talk about?
Adapted screenplays.
Adapted screenplays.
And this was a complicated one. Of the ones we've done so far, this has probably been for me the most complicated because every story, whether it's original or adapted, does its best to tell its story. Yeah. We've got Three Musketeers, adapted screenplay. Plunkin and McLean, original, as I recall. So some may be adapted very well and stand the test of time. 1973, still an engaging, fun flick. Whereas yours was from 1990s, and according to you, it wasn't worth the price of admission, which for you was free. So, movies being movies, narrowing it down to adapted screenplays for me was incredibly tricky. And I have to acknowledge, she'll probably never listen to this, but there's a long-standing joke with my mom, so I have to at least reference the fact that The African Queen, Oscar-nominated film, 1951, is an adapted screenplay. So I have to mention it as having been on my list. I have to mention it as being on my list, if only to make her happy. But I will never, ever, ever watch that film or put it on a list of anything because it would make my mother happy. And that's a whole other story. I am still bitter. Still bitter.
About Christmas 1993.
Dude, you are so close. You have no idea.
So before we get into these rankings, this question popped into my head when I was getting in the shower this morning. Did you rank your films based on the quality of the adaptation, or did you rank your list based on the quality of the movies themselves?
For me, it was movies themselves.
Okay, that's what I did too.
Yeah, and it was really hard because doing some research on adapted screenplays and really getting a sense of To Kill a Mockingbird, I knew that was an adaptation of a book.
Right.
I knew that was an adaptation of a book. I didn't realize that Amadeus was. I didn't realize that I'd forgotten about Arrival. Arrival was based on a short story. District 9 didn't realize was based on a short story.
I didn't.
Yeah, there's a lot of things here.
Jackie
of course,
Brown.
Jackie Brown, absolutely. I didn't go with Jackie. Jackie's not on my list. I need to rewatch that movie. It's one of my least favorite Tarantino films, but we'll get into that in a second.
It's mine too until I sit down and watch it. I'm like, fuck, I always forget how good this movie is.
Which, if you like Jackie Brown, check out the movie Life and Crime. I haven't seen it yet, but I read the book that it's based on by Elmore Leonard.
Word.
And Life and Crime is a pseudo prequel to Jackie Brown. It features the same people in terms of criminals. It's Samuel L. Jackson's character is a young man.
Odell.
And in Life and Crime, he's played by Mos Def.
Okay, the mighty Most. All right, so you want to kick us off with your number 3 there, sir?
Number 3, Young Frankenstein from 1974.
Oh.
I'm sorry, I could not come up. I had to include Mel Brooks on here. Mel Brooks is one of my favorite directors. It's adapted from the Mary Shelley novel, Frankenstein, of course. It's got Gene Wilder, Madeline Kahn, Marty Feldman, Peter Boyle, Cloris Leachman, Terry Garr, Gene Hackman in an uncredited appearance.
Yeah.
This movie is flipping amazing. It gets quoted to this day. You talk about timeless films.
Yeah.
This is one that stands the test. Now, it, of course, is a pseudo remake of Frankenstein. It's a sort of sequel, if you will, to the book. But it's very much an adaptation. It's also very much its own thing, and it is fucking amazing.
I've seen it once. I was like, okay, I've seen better out of Mel Brooks. It's not the top of my list of Mel Brooks.
Could you guys hear me roll my eyes at him?
I'm more of Blazing Saddles and Dr. Strangelove. For me, that's my Mel Brooks. Wait a minute, no, Kubrick is Strangelove.
Yeah.
I'm Blazing Saddles and Men in Tights.
Men in Tights.
Yes. I do need to go back and revisit Young Frankenstein because it's been about 2010 since I saw it last. So I'm overdue for another watch.
You can come over. You can come over. I'll put it on.
Boom.
Always works. What about you?
My number 3, you already mentioned it, To Kill a Mockingbird.
Oh, really?
Yes, To Kill a Mockingbird. So normally what I do with these joints is I make my list and uninfluenced, and then I go out there and I in the interwebs and I see, because there's lists for everything.
Yeah.
There's already like a top 3 best cinnamon performance out there that somebody's compiled.
Weirdly, it was the first 3 episodes.
Yeah, it goes 1 and 2 and 3. And then I saw
we do get better with age.
I saw To Kill a Mockingbird, and I was like, oh, I gotta put this on the list. It's been a couple years since I've seen it. I think I've seen it like 4 or 5 times now. I don't think there's a finer Gregory Peck performance. I've seen a couple Gregory Peck films. I don't think there is a final Gregory Peck performance. I think it is an incredibly faithful adaptation to the book. It gets the message of the book across very well. Just fucking don't treat people like assholes.
A message people still need to hear.
A message people, strangely enough, will need to hear until the human race ends. 1962, and it's sad that a movie that's trying to get a message about equality for everybody in 1962 still has not gotten through to everybody in 2018.
Yeah,
that is incredibly sad. But who directed this joint? Robert Mulligan. That's right, directed by Robert Mulligan. Gregory Peck is up in there as our boy Atticus Finch. I always take time to shout out Atticus Finch whenever I get the applicable opportunity to. And I think this is a movie that everyone needs to see. If there was a list of movies that I think people need to see at least once in their lifetime, this movie is definitely on there. Shout out to Scout. I've fucks with this movie heavy.
Right on.
It's a nice, clean looking movie too for the 60s.
Yeah. No, it's a beautiful film.
Yeah.
Well acted, well staged. No,
well staged. Yes, it is very well staged. I like a good staged court joint, man. There's not enough good staged court movies out there, or it's a lost art.
It's a tricky film, tricky material, and the fact that again, it's another timeless film. Because I remember seeing that film in late 80s, early 90s, whenever we were reading To Kill a Mockingbird in school.
All right.
And then watching it, and it's still, if you put it on now, other than it being black and white,
it could have been made today. It's a movie that beats you over the head with the message because it needs some people to be beaten over the head with it.
Yeah, sometimes literally.
Yeah.
My second film is Steven Soderbergh joint, Out of Sight.
Oh, not Ocean's 11.
Nope.
That's never a book. Never mind.
No. Yeah. Out of Sight was actually based on the novel by Elmore Leonard, and I forget if I've read this novel, but I have read almost every Elmore Leonard novel. Not his westerns when he wrote those under a different name, but I've read almost every Elmore Leonard book. Freaky Deaky. I've read Touch, which was an adequate adaptation in a film, but Touch is a great book. Be Cool, Get Shorty, all Justified. I've read the short story that series is based on. But this film is absolutely amazing.
Sean Penn?
Sean Penn?
Is there Sean Penn in this movie? Clooney? Who's in this movie?
Clooney.
Okay.
Clooney, Jennifer Lopez. It was the first film I saw Jennifer Lopez in where I went, you could be an amazing actress.
Yeah,
You
and
really
I'm
could
still
be.
looking at her thinking she could be an amazing actress.
She's done some work that's been questionable, but she's done some other stuff that you can buy, and this certainly demonstrates she's got the chops for it. She absolutely does, and she's surrounded by people like Ving Rhames, Steve Zahn, Don Cheadle, Catherine Keener, Luis Guzman, Isaiah Washington. It was directed by Steven Soderbergh, adapted by Scott Frank from the novel, and Scott Frank you're going to hear about a lot, because he's written a few films you might have seen: Logan, The Walk Among the Tombstones, Get Shorty, The Wolverine, Marvy and Me, and The Lookout, which he also directed The Lookout with Joseph Gordon-Levitt. All of a sudden I couldn't remember his name. I've been meaning to watch The Lookout. That one seemed really, really interesting, but I never got around to it. But Scott Frank has done a lot of really great adaptations, and the fact that he also did Get Shorty in addition to Out of Sight, he understands the language of Elmore Leonard.
Yeah.
And you were talking about Jackie Brown before, and Jackie Brown is a solid film.
Yeah.
It's just, I saw it once in theaters. I was expecting it to be something else. And that was before I recognized that Jackie Brown was also an Elmore Leonard joint.
Yeah.
I just kept thinking Ms. Tarantino.
It's Rum Punch, right?
No, it's Jackie Brown.
Okay.
No, I think that one was a straight adaptation of Jackie Brown. I don't think it was Rum Punch. Rum Punch, I think, had to do with people stealing from a donation box, which was different than this one.
All right.
I think. If memory serves, it's been a while. But no, Out of Sight is a phenomenal film. It's a gorgeous film. It's gorgeously shot, well acted. It's funny, it's silly, it's got drama, it's got great... Don Cheadle is menacing as all hell in this. And, it's a great supporting cast. It's a wonderful film everybody should see. It's my number 2.
That's a good number 2, sir. Agreed. My number 2 is a trilogy. And just the size and scope, they said it could not be adapted. It couldn't be adapted.
Really, The Hobbit? You went with The Hobbit?
No, come on. Come on, buddy. It's, of course, Lord of the Rings. How dare you, sir? You your way to the car. Yeah, it's
so bored.
With Lord of the Rings.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Everybody's going to think this is just me being bitchy for Plunkett and McLean.
You never got down with the Lord of the Rings?
I could not get down with the Lord of the Rings.
All right, that's fair. That's fair.
But let's talk about some Tolkien.
Just the take, which Tolkien can be kind of dry, especially in the Two Towers.
I actually like that one the best.
Most people do. Most people do like Two Towers the best. Most people I know like it the best because you get the Helm's Deep sequence at the end. I think one scene does not make a movie.
It can help.
It can help. But yeah, I think Two Towers is the driest of the three. It was the previously unadaptable joint. Nobody could do it. No one wanted to. And then there's I did 4. We could do it in 2 movies. We could just do one 3-hour movie. No. I think Pete Jackson and his team and the whole Weta crew did it the only way it could have been done. 3 damn near 3-hour movies is what you need to tell what is the grandfather of all fantasy, pretty much. I think it is a perfectly casted film. When I saw GoldenEye in '95, I was like, that guy should be Boromir. And it's the one time I've ever been right about casting of any kind. And they came out and they're like, Sean Bean's going to be Boromir. And I was like, I'm destined to do this shit. It is wonderfully filmed. It's still for 2001, 2002, 2003. Beautiful. I don't think Return of the King deserved all the Oscars it got. That was definitely for a body of work type thing. It is a damn fine adaptation. I thought Elijah Wood did good as he did a good job carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders. Sean Astin did a wonderful job of carrying him on his shoulders.
Literally.
Literally. There's wonderful emotion throughout. The action is great. It is to date, I think it is the finest fantasy thing that has been put on film.
Right on.
Yes.
I agree with all the technical aspects. I may not have connected with it in any way. I was watching The Fellowship of the Ring, and they started on their journey, and I was like, okay, the movie's over. What do you mean there's an hour and a half left?
The movie's over.
What is going on? There was just something about it that never connected with me, but you can't ignore what they accomplished. The casting is phenomenal. You feel the brotherhood of this group. Hearing about some of the behind-the-scenes stuff, the technical work, it's fantastic. It's fantastic. No, it's a great choice.
It is indeed fantastic. Yeah. What you got for your number one, sir?
Well, for my number one, I think I picked this one because I'm still angry that it didn't get an official... I'm pretty sure it didn't get an official nomination. If it did, it should have won. Although there were some wonderful films last year that came out in 2017.
Logan.
But yeah, absolutely. Absolutely Logan.
Wait, are you serious?
Yes.
Oh.
I'm dead serious. I never read the Old Man Logan series. Well, you say that. I read parts of it. I understand that there's I only read maybe 5 issues, which I thought was the core series, but apparently they've now made a second and a third that follows it.
None of that's got anything to do with it.
But the issues where it deals with Old Man Logan going on his journey with Hawkeye,
right.
That's what I've read.
Yes.
And seeing that adaptation by James Mangold, who did this with Scott Frank, again, from Out of Sight. He also did it with Michael Green, and Michael Green, he also had a hand in Blade Runner 2049, Alien Covenant, and Green Lantern. So, 1 out of 3 ain't bad.
1 out of 3.
1 out of 3 ain't bad there. But Logan is a phenomenal film, not just because you talk about body of work. This was Hugh Jackman's 9th appearance? Wait,
somewhere around there.
3,
cameos
9.
and whatnot.
Yeah, because he was in all of them. He portrayed, not including the Deadpool films.
Right.
He portrayed Wolverine in 9 films. And if you look at them beginning to end, even with all the time loop stuff, all of that wibbly-wobbly nonsense, which works for those stories,
does it?
This is a phenomenal film.
Yes.
Even if you take out the fact that he's a mutant with abilities. Nobody's wearing tights. This isn't a big world-saving type of film.
Nope.
This is a very small, very intimate, very private story. Almost your spaghetti western. It was influenced by spaghetti western.
Yes, it was.
There's even a prolonged scene with the film Shane playing on there with Patrick Stewart. And, you've got Hugh Jackman, Patrick Stewart, Boyd Holbrook, Stephen Merchant, Richard E. Grant, Elizabeth Rodriguez, Eric LaSalle in a very small performance, and Daphne Keane, who I hadn't seen in anything prior to this. I forget if this was her first film or not, but I want to see more of her. Whether they made an X-23 movie and she was the head of it, or she just shows up in something else. She was fantastic at this. But the whole film from beginning to end was as perfect as it could be for a film. The only thing that ever bugs me is the same thing that bugged me in the first movie, and I knew why they carried it, the adamantium bullets.
Yeah.
It makes no sense whatsoever, and they had to do it thematically. It's the only reason why that film was not a 5 out of 5 for me. It was 4.5, because I still hate those adamantium bullets. Make no sense. But the film is beautiful. It is powerful and incredibly evocative. That's my number one.
Daphne Keane, I do believe, is going to be on a TV show coming up soon. She'll be one of the central characters, yeah.
Right on.
We reported on that in Paprika in the last season, beginning of this season. But yeah, cool. I was like, oh, Daphne Keane on a TV show? I will ultimately check it out because of how well she did in Logan.
Oh, yeah.
I still want to see that black and white version.
Oh, you haven't seen Logan Noir?
No, I haven't seen Logan Noir.
I can lend that to you.
Oh, good.
I can lend that to you.
Thank you very much. So when I see you in a month, we'll slide that my way. That is not a bad number. That is unexpected. You're talking about comic book adaptations. I was close to putting Watchmen on this list because for me, Watchmen is the finest graphic novel to ever be written. The adaptation, shot for shot, visually is about as good as an adaptation as you're going to get. Yeah. I agree with some of the changes that Snyder made. Different story for a different day.
Sure.
My number one, 1972. Man, one of the if not the crowning achievement in crime, is The Godfather.
Nice.
Mario Puzo's The Godfather, directed by Frankie Coppola, who we know will go on to do
Good old Frankie.
Good old Frank Coppola. Go into Apocalypse Now and Godfather 2 and the ill-fated Godfather 3. It is, to me, the finest in organized crime films. If they, I guess, is like a subgenre of drama of organized crime films. And, you know, there's the Goodfellas and Scarfaces and all that, but Godfather definitely stands head and shoulders above those. It's a story about a man who just wants to do right by his family and ends up being just completely mired in the muck and the nastiness that the family was a part of before he was even alive, really. It set Al Pacino on his course for life. You know, that the studio didn't want him. Frankie had to fight for him. I've never seen James Caan better in a film. I never saw Brando better in a film. He underplays Vito Corleone. I think he's very, very subtle in the way that he plays, as you know, as opposed to Stella. You know, all the other times you saw. I think that's Brando at his finest. Diane Keaton at her best, Talia Shire at her best. Everybody is on their A game in this movie, I think. And it's the fact that you have, or all the extras are actually organized crime members who managed to agree to keep the peace for the making of this film. The big wedding scene is one of my favorite big spectacles in film. You know, and there's all the twists and turns. Luca Brasi getting taken out the game early, and you know, that's how we get the phrase "he sleeps with the fishes." Abe Vigoda's already 118 years old when this movie came out. There's nothing. It is 99% perfect to me. I don't believe there is such thing as a perfect movie. I think 99.9 is where Jaws is sitting at. 99.8 is where The Godfather's sitting at. It is incredible.
Worth noting, Mario Puzo wrote Superman.
What?
The movie.
Oh, man. So we've seen that he can do greatness and he can do trash all in the same time.
Well, that's a weird way to describe your number one pick for adapted screenplay is trash. So weird.
I'm not a fan. I love Superman too. I don't know. I can't describe it to you. Hate one, love two. But yeah,
Godfather also responsible for giving us numerals for our sequels.
That is, yes, Godfather II, which may or may not be showing up on Paprika Brackets for season 11. So yeah, that is my numero uno.
Right on.
It's The Godfather.
And I'm still a little sad that you've gotten too scared to dive into Zack Snyder on what incidentally became the Zack Snyder podcast for today's episode. But sure, we can talk about Watchmen another day. We can.
Yeah, I agree with some of the stuff we did. But like I said, different time for different day. What are the challenges for next time?
I am giving you one of my favorite films for a variety of reasons. But this is Undercover Blues. Kathleen Turner, Dennis Quaid, and a very young Stanley Tucci.
I'm with it.
Oh, it has a fantastic cast. It is absolutely ridiculous. It is dumb fun.
Oh, I love a good dumb fun joint. 90 minutes, all right, to keep the pace moving?
Yep.
I can get that. 1993. All right, MGM Studios.
Yeah, that's one of those DVDs where it's dual-sided, so you can decide if you want widescreen or
full
standard.
Screen or widescreen, yeah. That's the same way that that Ratchet and Clank, Plunkett McLean.
Ratchet and Clank? Criminy Christmas!
That was the same way, and I can never remember which way you're supposed to put it in, and I'm just like, fuck it, whatever way it's going in. I'm too lazy to go across the other side of the living room and take it out and put it back in.
Well, this is why, at least with the ones I give you, whatever way it's in, put it in that way, should be widescreen.
Boom.
Looking out for you.
You're a good man, Doug. And I'm giving you, we're going to start filling up that Western gap of your knowledge. I'm giving you what I consider the best Western to ever be made. Not is it just to me the best Western, it is to me one of my top 10 favorite movies of all time.
Awesome.
The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Sergio Leone. It's a long one. It is the director's cut, so it's bordering on 3.
Okay.
So make sure you adjust your schedule accordingly. I don't want you to be looking at your watch like, I still have 30 minutes left in this movie. So adjust your schedule accordingly, sir.
Yeah, last few nights I've been watching 90-minute movies. I watched a film called Galveston.
Texas?
Galveston by Melanie Laurent, actress from Inglourious Bastards.
Correct.
I didn't realize she was also a director. Great film, Ben Foster and Ellie Fanning. And I looked down and Beau Bridges. No, yeah, Beau Bridges, not Jeff. But I looked down at the runtime and went 90 minutes. Oh, I love you. And last night I watched another film called Camp Mana, 90 minutes. Yes.
Man, if you want to do a top 3 film, 90 minutes or less.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with a good 90-minute movie. There's nothing wrong with 2 hours or close to 3 if you need that much to tell a story. Yeah. Just don't make it feel like it's 4 weeks when it's 2 hours. That's all I ask for. Which, Galveston, by the way, comes out October 19th, I think. Keep an eye out for that one. Ben Foster is absolutely amazing. So is Elle Fanning. The beginning and the end of that film will knock your socks off. Boom. And Camp Mana, by the way, is available right now for streaming. If you're looking for something that's a bit of a 80s camp movie throwback, check it out, except this one takes place at a religious camp.
All right.
So I will point out that their faith is not a butt of any joke. Faith is involved, because again, it takes place at a religious camp.
Yeah.
So faith is involved, but it's never the butt of the joke. Okay. Which is something that I thought was a nice line to walk. Yeah. Nice line to walk in terms of the comedy. So definitely 2 movies I'd also recommend keeping an eye out for. All
right, then we will return hopefully in a couple of weeks.
Hopefully before 2019.
Hopefully before 2019 with episode 7. And until then, you guys take it easy out there.
See y'all later.